Hey guys, what's good? I hope you're all doing well. Before I hop into today's video, I just wanted to quickly remind you all that I have just recently announced my community or subscriber patchwork project, where I'm hoping that all of you guys can create and send into me your 5" by 5" patches. And my goal with all these patches is to combine all of them together and make one gigantic, colorful, beautiful cardigan. So if you guys are interested in participating in this and you'd like to hear more information about it, head on over to my recently posted video. It's going to have all the details, shipping information, everything that you guys need to know about this project. And yeah. And something else that I quickly wanted to announce as well. Recently, some of you guys have been messaging my boyfriend Jordan in regards to booking a photo shoot with him. And to show my thanks to you all, for those of you who book an appointment with Jordan, I will be giving you 50% off everything on my website. And that includes, of course, my custom orders and that famous flame vest that you guys all love. So if you guys would like to get that at half off, go ahead and head on over right now, schedule a photo shoot with Jordan, get those boudoir shots, get your wedding shots, engagement shots, birthday shots, any kind of photo shoot that you want. He can do it for you guys. And yeah, we really appreciate you guys reaching out and supporting us and showing us love. You guys give us the motivation to keep doing this. And yeah, honestly, I'm just very grateful for this huge support team that I have here on YouTube. I can't thank you guys enough. But to get into today's video, I actually just wanted to do a sit down kind of crochet 101 basics for all of my beginners out there. I've had some friends of mine reach out to me recently and say that they want to pick up the crochet hobby, but they've never done it before. So I thought that this would be a pretty good time to give you guys the breakdown 101 beginner's guide to crocheting. This video is going to show you guys how to do your everyday basic stitches and pretty much how to build a solid stitch foundation. So let's get on into the tutorial right now. I hope you guys can learn something and let's go. Okay, so to begin crocheting, all that you truly need is a ball of yarn and your crochet hook. And for this beginner's guide, I'll be using the Big Twist Value yarn. It is 100% acrylic, which is usually your staple type of yarn. And this is also considered a worsted or erin weight yarn, which means it's a category number 4 yarn. Typically, when you buy yarn, it should come wrapped with a paper informational guide, and this is going to give you all the information that you need to begin crocheting. When you pick out your yarn, there are 2 key things that you should be looking for on your informational guide here. The first is going to tell you the size of the crochet hook that you need to use. So for this worsted or erin weight yarn, it's suggesting that I use a 5mm crochet hook. And the second thing that you should be looking for is the weight of yarn that you're going to be using. So this number 4 here means it's listed as a weight 4 or medium weight yarn. And typically those are called worsted weight or erin weight yarns. They just have a very nice thickness to them. They're very easy to use, clear to see with your stitches. And let's go ahead and get into it. And like I mentioned earlier, it suggests a 5mm hook. So of course I will be using my 5mm hook. The first step to crocheting is getting your yarn onto your hook, and that's typically done by using a slip knot. So there's a couple ways that you can do it, but this is my technique. I begin by taking the short end of the tail over here. I've got my long end over here, and using that short end, I'm going to wrap the yarn around my finger once and around my finger twice. So now that yarn is sitting on top of my finger, I've got 2 circles, and to create my slip knot, I'll take that back loop, bring it over the first loop, and now here, I'll bring that back loop and bring it up and over that front loop. And I pull tight, so now I have my little slip knot. And from here you can insert your hook and begin crocheting. So to show you that one more time, I take my short end of the tail in my moving hand, I wrap it once around my finger and twice, grab the back loop, pull it over the front, grab the back loop, and pull it over the front. So there's my slip knot. I can insert my hook, and now we can begin crocheting. From here, the second step to crocheting is creating your base chain. And depending on what you're trying to make, you're going to need a different length of chain every single time. So for this tutorial purpose, I'm just going to use a chain of 10, okay? And just a quick note before I begin chaining, with your slip knot on the hook, this does not count as your first chain. It's simply just sitting on your hook. You have no work started here. From here, in order to begin chaining, I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook once, and now I can pull that loop through the existing slip knot. So there is my very first chain. Let's go ahead and create a second chain. So I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook once and pull through that loop. So now I have my 2 little loops sitting there on the chain. Let's keep going until we have 10. So from here, I'm going to wrap my yarn around the hook and pull through. There's 3. Wrap my yarn around the hook, pull through, wrap my yarn, pull through, and just continue until you have a total of 10. And now I need one more for my 10th. So now I have a total of 10 chains all created there. And another quick note for all my beginners out there, you do not want your chain to be super tight to begin with, because then it makes it very difficult for you to insert your hook later on. So now my next step is to begin placing stitches into the chain that we've just created. And I'm going to start you guys off with the easiest and most basic stitch, which is the single crochet. And because I'm at the start of a new row, I need to create one extra chain so that I can turn corners effortlessly. So like I said, because we're using single crochets, I only need to create one extra chain. So again, I'm just chaining one more. And this is usually marked as a +1 at the beginning of each row. And now, in order to create my single crochet, I'm going to skip that very first chain from the hook, and I'm going to insert my hook into the second chain. So right here, I'm just going to slip my hook into that gap. So I'm inserted into that chain. I'm going to yarn over once and pull through my hook one time. So at this point, you should end up with 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over again and pull through both of those loops. So now you've just created your very first single crochet. Good job. And now we're going to move on to the next stitch. So again, I'm going to insert my hook into that loop, yarn over once, and pull up that loop. Now you should have 2 on your hook, yarn over again, and pull through both of those stitches. So now you have your second single crochet. To show you one more time, we're going to look at our next chain right here. Insert my hook, pull up 1 loop. Now you should have 2 sitting on your hook, yarn over, and pull through both. So at this point, you should have your 3 cute little single crochets sitting there, and we're just going to continue this until we reach the end of our row. So this right here should be our 4th. Insert, pull up, yarn over, pull through both. Again, insert, pull up, yarn over, and pull through both. And just continue your way down that chain, making sure that you grab every single stitch. And it really helps to count out how many stitches you have as you're working your way down your row. That way you can make sure if you've skipped anything, and you should end up with one perfect rectangle when you're done. So right here, this is my 9th single crochet in a row. And looking here at the very end of my chain, you should have 1 more left. A lot of times people forget the very last stitch in the row. So like I said, make sure that you count your work, pick up your 10th stitch, and create that single crochet. So now we have a very beautiful foundation created for us, and now we just need to build on top of this. And like I mentioned earlier, because I'm at the end of my row and I'll be beginning my second row, I need to chain 1. That way my work can continue effortlessly. And now I'm going to turn my work so I can begin working from the right hand side again. So I've got that chain 1 sitting there on top of my work. And now I'm just going to place 10 more single crochet along the top of these stitches. So I should end up again with perfect edges. So to begin working your second row, you're going to look to find your very first stitch in the row. You never want to forget it. It's sitting right here under your chain 1 space. So I'm going to insert my hook into the top loops on my chain. So you see how there are 2 little ribbed loops? You want to grab both of those. Yarn over, pull up my loop, and finish out my single crochet. So there's my very first one in the row. Looking to find my second stitch. It's right here. I'm going to insert again through the top and grab both of those loops. See, they're sitting there on top of my hook. Yarn over, pull up my loop, and create another single crochet. So now that you've hopefully learned how to create that very easy single crochet, just continue on down your chain, making sure that you're picking up both of those top loops. And again, make sure that you count as you go to ensure that you've picked up every single stitch. Because again, if you end up skipping any stitches, your work is going to start to decrease and you're not going to have a solid foundation. Here is my 8th stitch. Looking here for my 9th. Insert. And again, now that I'm here at the very end of my row, I have one more stitch to go. A lot of people forget to pick up that very last stitch in the row because it looks rounded and kind of difficult to see. And just make sure that you pick up both of those top loops. So there I have it, 2 loops sitting on the hook. Yarn over. And now I've just created 2 rows of perfect single crochet. Okay, so at this point, now I'm going to show you guys how to create double crochets, which is the second most useful stitch in all of crochet. And instead of starting over from scratch with my chain, I'm just going to continue on from where we've left off. And again, because I'm here at the end of my row and I need to start working a new row, I need to create a chain so that I can start working effortlessly. But because the double crochet is a little bit longer of a stitch than the single crochet, I need to create a chain of 2. So I'm going to chain 1 and chain 2. And from this point, I can turn my work and begin working my double crochets. So now to create my double crochets, I need to begin by finding my first stitch right here. I'm going to wrap my yarn around the hook once and insert my hook into that very first stitch. And again, I've picked up both of those loops. Now that my hook is inserted, I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So you should have 3 sitting here on your hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. So I should still end up with 2 loops. And one more time, I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those last loops. So not including this original chain 2, I only have 1 double crochet sitting right here. And as you guys can see, that stitch is a little bit more elongated than my single crochet. To show you guys again, I'm going to yarn over once on my hook, find my next stitch right here, and insert my hook, yarn over, and pull up 1 loop. So now I should have 3 loops sitting on my hook, yarn over and pull through the first 2. You should have 2 loops left over, yarn over again, and pull through the remaining loops. So now I've got my first 2 double crochet and they're sitting nice and even on top of my single crochet. So now I can just continue my double crochets all the way down my chain until I reach my 10th one. And again, make sure that you guys are counting out your stitches. I've yarned over, finding the next stitch in the row, insert and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you guys see how those double crochets are a lot longer than those single crochets. Double crochets are used mostly when you need to gain a lot of work and get it done quickly. Looking for my next stitch, I've already yarned over, insert, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And don't forget to keep your tension nice and loose on your non-working hand. You just want the yarn to kind of flow through your fingers. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now if you guys count with me, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 double crochets. So I should have 5 more stitches left. I'm just going to finish up this row. There's 6. Here is 7. 8. My 9th stitch. And don't forget, now that we're here at the end of the row, you need to pick up your very last stitch in the row. Here is my 10th. So now I have a whole row of double crochets completed, and my work looks nice and even on both of my edges. And because I'm turning the corner here at the end of my work, I need to chain my 2. There's my chain of 2, turn my work, and create another row of double crochet. So like I showed you guys earlier, you're going to yarn over and find that very first stitch in the row. Again, that chain 2 does not count as a stitch. So finding that first stitch. There is my very first double crochet. And hopefully you guys are picking up how to do these stitches now. I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4.
You've always been one of us, and you are going to stay one of us. We're all in it together.
And again, I'm here at the very end of my row. I have one more stitch to pick up. And now my work looks nice and even again, and those are how you create your double crochets. And now the last stitch that I'm going to show you guys how to create is the slip stitch. And a lot of times the slip stitch is used to join pieces together or create a very tiny thin row. So to create that here at the end of my work, for a slip stitch, because it's so tiny, you only need to chain 1. So I've chained my 1, and I can turn my work. And here at the start of my row, in order to create a slip stitch, all that I have to do is insert my hook, pull up a loop, and now pull that first loop through the rest. So it creates a very tiny little stitch. And again, this is used mainly to join pieces together. Looking here at my second stitch in the row, I'm just going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, and pull that first loop through the second. Show you again, insert my hook, pull up a loop, and pull that original loop through. So as you guys can see there, I've got 1, 2, and 3 slip stitches. They're very tiny. They kind of create an additional mini row. I'd consider this like half of a single crochet. So again, looking here for my next stitch, insert, pull up, take that first loop and pull it through. Show you again, insert my hook, pull up a loop, and pull that loop through. Insert, pull up, and pull through. Insert the hook, pull up, and pull through. And just repeat this process until the end of your row. So now I've created an entire row using a slip stitch. And these I would consider your very basic beginner stitches. And now that I've finished my little piece of work, I can consider this done. I'm going to cut my yarn. And after my very last slip stitch right there, I'm going to yarn over and pull through the rest of my tail. Fasten off a knot, and now you've just finished creating your very first crochet piece.